Welcome to another edition of Indy 500, The Classics. I'm Mike King, along with Speedway historian Donald Davidson, here today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame Museum, talking about the 1978 race. And certainly the man who had brought this track back to national prominence, had revived it after purchasing it in the 40s. Tony Hulman was gone, and it cast the pall over the proceedings in 1978.
Yes, that was very sad, and Tony was greatly missed and really continues to be. And anyway, but what we were looking forward to, I suppose, was more speed. Tom Sneva had done a couple of 200-mile-an-hour laps in his qualifying run in 1977, but his pole average speed was less than that. But during practice, a lot of 200-mile-an-hour laps. We looked for a 200-mile-an-hour pole sitter, and in fact, we got a 200-mile-an-hour front row.
So the quest for more speed as qualifications get underway for the 1978 running of the Indianapolis 500.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the springtime. The cold, harsh winter is gone, and everywhere the lush green of new growth brings life again to the 70-year-old birthplace of American racing. Soon, there's the sound of racing engines, and the competitive spirit, which is the key to automotive progress, begins to grow as speeds climb higher and higher. Disaster can sometimes be an example of true champions at work. They react with the split-second judgment of professionals. Race drivers are very special people. They represent to the spectator a way of life which can only be shared in the imagination. They are like the men who climb high mountains, descend to the depths of the sea, who dare to explore beyond the known frontiers of any land, whether it be one of science, of engineering. Most people think that the Indianapolis 500, which is really run in the town of Speedway, Indiana, takes place on one day. Actually, there are 3 weeks involved. There's more than 12 days of practice, 4 days of time trials, 5 days to rest and get your car ready. And then the big day. Once they said that 150 miles per hour was too fast for this track. Now they're running over 200. Competition made it possible. The Lady Janet must tell Merlin the magician, George Bignotti, why her iron horse won't steer left. Communication between driver and crew has always been a problem, but nowadays two-way radio keeps the mechanic in touch with his driver wherever he is on the 2.5-mile oval. Imagine having a conversation while you're driving 200 miles per hour. Today's race car is much easier to drive, but it still takes split-second timing, a cool head, and lots of skill to drive 500 miles at speeds over 3 times faster than normal highway driving. It's qualifying time, finally. The flagman, Pat Bedan, communicates with the United States Auto Club official by hand signals. He's telling Pat that the car is coming around out of the northwest turn. And there it is. Johnny Rutherford, the 1974 and 76 winner from the Kingdom of Fort Worth, is on his way. He drives 4 laps, 10 miles, and averages over 197 miles per hour. That's good for the race. Now Tom Sneva of Spokane, Washington, takes his turn. He was the first man in history to drive one official lap over 200 miles per hour here at Indianapolis, and that was last year. There were more than 250,000 people to witness that historic moment, and as many or more now watch him try to beat his own record. His fastest lap was over 203 miles per hour. All 4 laps are over 200. The average is 202.156, and it looks like that's the speed to beat for anyone wanting to take the pole starting position away from him. of Bakersfield, California. He's an off-road racing star and an Indianapolis rookie. His speed of 200+ miles per hour is pretty good for a man more used to dodging rocks, cactus, and stray burros. And now the Lady Janet Guthrie takes the flag. It's her fastest yet, over 190 miles per hour. Several days ago, May 16th, Danny Ongais tested his backup car. It was a shattering experience for Danny Ongais and his friend Parnelli Jones, and a reminder that a split second is enough time to destroy a $100,000 car. Because of built-in safety features and on-the-spot emergency crews, Danny was okay, and now goes out to qualify in his other racer. Were over 200 miles per hour. 2 were slightly under. But it looks like the starting front row will be Tom Sneva, Danny Ongais, and Rick Mears. .122 miles per hour average. Happy birthday, Danny, from Parnelli and all the crew. The only 4-time winner in history, A.J. Foyt, is having mechanical problems, which keep him from that pole starting position. Once upon a time, there were 2 brothers named Unser from the kingdom of Albuquerque. Their names were just plain Bobby and Al. You don't get to be Sir until you've driven in the 500. Every year, they came to a tournament held on a mountain in Colorado. They were very good. In fact, their whole family, father, uncle, and 2 brothers, won the hill climb so often that many people today call it Unser's Mountain instead of its real name, which is Pikes Peak. At any rate, this was in 1960, and Al Unser's first time on the hill. He was second to Bobby's first. In 1963, Bobby came to Indianapolis. Al followed in 1965. Mom Unser was there to see him qualify, as well as brother Louie and Pop Unser, who did not live to see his boys win the 500. They won it 2 times each, and now the rivalry continues between Al and Bobby as though they were still battling it out on that mountain back in Colorado. Al's speed average is 196.474, which wins the 5th starting position. And history shows that 3 former wins have come from that same position. Storm clouds gather over the speedway as Bobby takes his turn. His 4-lap run in the rain. The speed is 194.658. 20 cars have qualified. There's 1 day left to fill 13 places. With time running out, the pressure is really on. Roger Rager lost control in turn 3, hit the wall, and rode it to a stop. Larry Cannon was on his 2nd qualifying lap. He made it into the pit. Dick Simon lost 2 wheels and stopped in front of the pits. A.J. Foyt makes his bid for the race. The four-lap average is 200.122, and he becomes one of 4 drivers who qualified for the 1978 Indianapolis 500 at over 200 miles per hour.
An all 200-mile-an-hour front row. And we've got Tom Sneva on the pole. He had been on the pole and finished second the year before to A.J. Foyt. Was this Tom Sneva's year?
There's only one way to find out. Let's pick up highlights of the 1978 running of the Indianapolis 500.
He said he missed the race in 37 when his dad died, and in 63 when he was in the hospital. Otherwise, he's seen them all. Just think, he was going to the 500 17 years before Louis Meyer's winning car was even built, and that car is 50 years old. There's places where you have to have a pass, but sometimes a small boy can find a way to get where he wants to go. This is where they pushed the cars out race day morning. He was so close to AJ's car, he could touch it. There's Al Unser's car, and all the others lining up for the race. Troubadour named Roy Clark from the kingdom of Hee-Haw. The Lady Linda and her court. And Sir Barry Goldwater from the distant kingdom of Arizona. Now Louis Meyer, 3-time winner, takes a nostalgic lap around the track in his 1928 Miller Special, said to be one of the most beautiful cars that ever raced in the 500. The cars are lined up. Andretti won the overseas Belgian Grand Prix, while at home, Mike Hiss qualified his car. But according to the rules, if Mario drives it, he must start in last place. This is the great moment for Mary Hulman, who will speak the immortal words made famous by her late husband, Tony Hulman.
The widow of Mr. Tony Hulman, Mr. Mary Hulman.
start, Danny Ongais forges ahead of pole setter Tom Sneva. Sheldon Kinzer, number 24, goes high. He's got oil pressure problems. Moves away. Sneva second, Johncock third, Rutherford fourth, Al Unser fifth, Krisaloff sixth. Kinzer's car is towed from the track. The yellow light is on for the moment. Ongais continues to lead. Started last, but he didn't stay there. By the 10th lap, he's running in the middle of the pack. Tom Sneva clings like a shadow to Danny Ongais. Now approaching the 20th lap, Mario has moved up on Foyt, who is running 10th. They battle it out, with Andretti eventually passing Foyt and moving into the top 10. It's the 24th lap, and that was too close for comfort. Spike Gilhousen tapped the wall in turn 2 and left a trail of debris up into the backstretch. The race is slowed. Gilhousen is okay, but his machine is bent. Mario Andretti goes back to the race after an 8-minute pit stop brought on by magneto problems. He's now 3 laps down on the leader. Steve Krisaloff leads from the 26th to the 30th lap. Tom Sneva leads for 1 lap. Then it's Ongais from the 32nd to the 75th lap. He dropped to second as Al Unser took the lead, but never lost sight of the front runner. In the 86th lap, Ongais passes Unser as they come in together for a pit stop. Unser gets away first by 10 seconds and holds his lead over Ongais. Lap 114, Rick Mears is pushed slowly to his pit. 2 cars from the front row are still running and in contention. The 140th lap, it's still Al Unser with Ongais behind. Jim McElreath, winner of the first California 500, pulls in. He's all through, but in a moment he has company. Danny Ongais, just seconds behind the leader, heads for the pits. His car has a broken turbocharger rotor, which spells the end to his bid for an Indianapolis 500 win for 1978. Foyt's crew struggles with a car that doesn't want to run. Foyt is down 4 laps on the leader, Al Unser. Janet Guthrie is hanging on, running in the top 10. And Al Unser continues to dominate with Tom Sneva running on the same lap in second. Suddenly, there's the white flag. 199 laps finished, 1 to go for the leader. And here he is, Al Unser, taking the checkered flag for his 3rd win. That's the way it went. Number 2 is first, number 1 is second. Tom Sneva pulls in after starting and finishing exactly as he did in 1977. But the attention is for Janet Guthrie. She is 9th in the race, and that's almost as great as winning. Voigt finishes at the end of a tow rope, but he's 7th, and Andretti is 12th, despite being in the pits for a total of 17 minutes, 45 seconds. Now here's Al Unser, who has just joined that small, exclusive club of 3-time Indianapolis winners, which include Louis Meyer, Wilbur Shaw, Maury Rose, and A.J. Foyt, who upped them all by 1 last year. Riches and great honor belong to Al Unser, who drove the 500 miles in 3 hours, 5 minutes, and 54 seconds, for a speed average, including caution lights and pit stops, of 161 miles per hour. His prizes total $290,363, and that almost makes getting to be 39 worthwhile. The next day was May 29th, which is Al Unser's birthday. And Danny came out to the track to wish him a happy birthday. You see, the winner of the 500 always poses for pictures the morning after the race. And Al said, "Danny, how would you like to sit in my race car?" And he said, "Oh boy, would I ever." First win was in 1970, then again in 1971, a second place in 72, and another in 1967, which was the year A.J. Foyt became a 3-time winner. Soon, there will be another model to add to these two.
So Al Unser is the winner of the 1978 Indianapolis 500, his 3rd victory here at the Brickyard. And Donald, in this car, we see the evolution of ground effects.
This was ground effects in its early days, and what we see here is the red plastic skirt that runs alongside of the car on both sides, and it's about a ½ inch to 1 inch off the ground. But when the car would get up to speed, 180, 200 miles an hour, the downforce would push the car down so that those skirts would then mate with the racetrack and create a suction, a vacuum underneath the car, and they could go through the turns at much greater speeds.
One other note, Jim Hall, his first attempt as a car owner in the Indianapolis 500, not a bad debut. Well, we hope you enjoyed this look back at the 1978 running of the Indianapolis 500. For Donald Davidson, I'm Mike King. We'll see you again next time on Indy 500, the Classics.